Okay, so I'm 70 years old. I live in a beautiful paid-off house that I bought with my late husband in 1982. My son, Daniel, and his wife, Vanessa, live about 20 minutes away in a house they bought 3 years ago. Nice house, expensive house, mortgaged house. But I didn't know how much mortgage until recently, and I definitely didn't know they were planning to get rid of me until I overheard a conversation I wasn't supposed to hear. That was 3 months ago, and it changed everything. I was at their house for Sunday dinner, normal routine. I'd brought dessert, we were having a nice time, or so I thought. I excused myself to use the bathroom, upstairs bathroom. Their bedroom is right next to it. Door wasn't fully closed, and I heard voices. Vanessa's voice, sharp, frustrated. "We need that house, Daniel. Your mother is sitting on $500,000 in equity, and she's not even using all that space. $500,000. My house, my equity. What do you want me to do?" Daniel asked. Weak voice, defeated voice. "Convince her to sell. Tell her it's too much for her, that she needs to downsize, that she'd be safer in assisted living." My blood went cold. Assisted living. They wanted me in assisted living so they could get my house. "She'll never agree to that," Daniel said. "Then make her agree. We're drowning here, Daniel. The mortgage, the car payments, the credit cards. We need money. She has it. She's old. She doesn't need a 4-bedroom house. Old. I'm 70, not 90, and I don't need a 4-bedroom house, but I want it. It's my house, where I raised my son, where my husband died, where my life is." "I don't know if I can convince her," Daniel said. "Try harder, or we lose everything." I stood there in the hallway, frozen, processing. My son and his wife were planning to steal my house, not legally, but emotionally, psychologically, by convincing me I was too old, too fragile, too incompetent to live alone, so they could solve their financial problems with my assets. I finished in the bathroom, went back downstairs, smiled, ate dessert, acted like nothing was wrong, but everything was wrong, and I was going to fix it. But first, I needed information. The next day, I did something I'd never done before. I looked up Daniel's mortgage information. It's public record. Anyone can access it if they know where to look. And what I found was shocking. They'd bought their house for $650,000, put down 10%, $65,000, financed $585,000. But then, 2 years ago, they'd refinanced, took out $150,000 in equity for home improvements. Their mortgage was now $735,000. I'm on a house worth maybe $700,000. They were underwater, drowning, just like Vanessa said, and the payments, $4,800 a month, plus property taxes, plus insurance, plus 2 car payments I found records of, plus credit card debt that I could only guess at based on their lifestyle, designer bags, expensive vacations, new furniture. They were drowning in debt, living beyond their means, and they'd decided that my house, my paid-off house, was the solution. They'd convinced me to sell it, move into assisted living, and they'd take the proceeds, either as a loan or an early inheritance, or just by guilting me into giving it to them, not on my watch. I made an appointment with my lawyer, Richard. I'd used him for my will, my husband's estate, everything. I trusted him. I told him what I'd overheard, what I'd discovered. "Richard, they're going to try to pressure me into selling my house. I need to protect it, protect myself." He nodded, took notes. "Here's what we'll do. We'll put the house in a trust. With you as the sole beneficiary during your lifetime, they can't touch it, can't pressure you, can't benefit from it until you're gone. And even then, only if you want them to. That protects my house, but it doesn't solve their problem. They'll just keep pushing. Richard leaned back in his chair, thinking. You want to go on offense, don't you? I want them to understand that you don't manipulate your mother, that actions have consequences, that I'm not some helpless old woman they can con. He smiled, actually smiled. Then I have an idea, a brilliant, slightly devious idea. But you have to be sure, because once we do this, there's no going back. Tell me, he explained. And it was perfect, absolutely perfect. See, when Daniel and Vanessa refinanced their mortgage, they needed a co-signer. Their debt-to-income ratio was too high. The bank wouldn't approve the loan without additional security, so they'd use Daniel's father's life insurance policy as collateral. My late husband's policy, that I was the beneficiary of. They'd forged my signature, or more likely, Daniel had signed as executor of the estate, even though the estate was closed and he had no authority. It was fraud, technically, legally, provably. If you wanted to, Richard said carefully, you could report this. The bank would have to investigate, the loan could be called in, they'd face legal consequences. I thought about it. That felt too harsh, too nuclear. What else? Or you could go to the bank, explain the situation, offer to actually co-sign the mortgage legitimately, which would give you legal interest in the property, partial ownership they couldn't sell without your permission, couldn't refinance without your approval, couldn't touch that house without you signing off. I stared at him. You mean I'd own part of their house? Exactly. You'd be on the deed, on the mortgage, a legal co-owner, for your protection, for your safety, in case they default, in case something happens. You'd have rights to their house, the house they were living in, the house they thought was theirs. I smiled. Do it. Set it up. I want to own part of their house for safety. Richard laughed, actually laughed. You're diabolical. I'm strategic. There's a difference. It took 2 weeks. Richard coordinated with the bank, explained the original co-signer issue, provided evidence of the forged documentation. The bank was not happy. They could have called the loan immediately, but Richard negotiated. I would legitimately co-sign. I would guarantee the loan, and in exchange, I would be added to the deed as a co-owner. The bank agreed eagerly, because now they had a co-signer with assets, with a paid-off house, with actual money. I was a much better risk than my drowning son and his shopaholic wife. The paperwork was filed, recorded, done. I was now a legal co-owner of Daniel and Vanessa's house. They had no idea, not yet. I waited, watched, let them make the first move, and they did. 2 weeks after the paperwork was finalised, Daniel called. Hey, Mum, Vanessa and I were talking. We're worried about you living alone, that big house, all those stairs. What if something happens? There it was. The script Vanessa had written, the manipulation, the guilt trip. I'm fine, honey. I've been living there for 40 years. I know, but you're getting older. We think it might be time to look at some options, safer options. Like what? Playing dumb? Playing cooperative? Well, there are some really nice assisted living communities nearby. We could tour a few, see what you think. Assisted living, just like I'd heard through the door. Oh, that's very sweet of you to worry, but I like my house. I'm not ready to move. Daniel's voice got tighter, more insistent. Mum, we're just trying to help. We care about your safety. Safety, that word. Tell you what, I said sweetly, Why don't you and Vanessa come over Sunday? We'll talk about it, about my safety, about my options. I could hear the relief in his voice. That's great, Mom. We'll be there at noon. They thought they'd won, thought I was caving, thought Sunday would be the day they'd convince me to sell my house, move into a facility and hand them my equity. They thought wrong. Sunday came. They arrived at noon, both dressed nicely. Vanessa had brochures, glossy brochures for luxury senior living communities. My blood pressure spiked, but I stayed calm, stayed sweet. Come in, I made lunch. We sat at my dining room table, my table in my house that they wanted to steal. So, Vanessa started, all fake concern. We've been so worried about you, Eleanor. This house is just too much. Too many stairs. Too much maintenance. You deserve to relax, to be somewhere safe. She slid the brochures across the table. I looked at them, smiled. These look very nice, but they're quite expensive. How would I afford this? Daniel jumped in. Well, if you sold the house, you'd have plenty of money, more than enough. You could live comfortably for years. And what would you do with the proceeds? I asked innocently. They exchanged a look. What do you mean? Vanessa asked carefully. I mean, would you expect me to give you some? Help you out? I know things have been tight. Daniel's face went red. We're not asking for your money, Mom. Aren't you? I pulled out a folder, my folder, the one Richard had prepared, because I did some research about your house, your mortgage, your debt. I slid papers across the table. Their mortgage statement, the refinance documents, the forged cosigner paperwork. Their faces went white. How did you get these? Vanessa demanded. Public records, and my lawyer, who's been very helpful. I don't understand what... Let me explain, I said, voice no longer sweet, voice cold. You refinanced your mortgage 2 years ago, took out $150,000 in equity, used forged documents to do it, fraudulent documents involving my late husband's life insurance. That's illegal. That's fraud. The bank could call your loan tomorrow. You could lose everything. Daniel looked like he might faint. Mom, we didn't mean to. It was a mistake. It was fraud. But don't worry, I fixed it. Fixed it. I went to the bank. I legitimately co-signed your mortgage. I'm now a legal co-owner of your house. I'm on the deed. I'm on the mortgage, which means you can't sell it without my permission, can't refinance without my approval, can't make any major decisions about your house without me signing off. For your safety, for your protection, just like you wanted to do to me. The silence was deafening. Vanessa found her voice first. You can't do that. I already did. The paperwork's filed, recorded, legal. Your house is partially mine now. Funny how that works, isn't it? You had no right. I had every right. You used my husband's insurance fraudulently. I corrected it, and in the process, I protected my interests. Because if you default on that mortgage, if you can't make payments, I'm on the hook. So I need to make sure that doesn't happen. I need to have a say. Daniel was shaking, actually shaking. What do you want? I want you to never, and I mean never, try to manipulate me into selling my house again. Never suggest assisted living. Never imply I'm too old or too incompetent to make my own decisions. Because if you do, I will exercise my rights as co-owner of your house. I will force a sale. I will take my share, and you'll be left with whatever's remaining after the bank gets paid, which, given that you're underwater, won't be much. Vanessa stood up, grabbed her purse. This is insane. You're insane. I'm strategic. There's a difference, and I learned from the best, from you. You wanted to take my house for your financial problems, so I took your house for my protection. Fair trade, don't you think? She stormed out. Daniel stayed, looking broken. Mom, I'm sorry, I didn't. Vanessa thought she could manipulate your elderly mother, and you let her. You helped her. You were going to put me in a home so you could steal my equity. We weren't going to steal. What would you call it? Convincing me I'm incompetent? Pressuring me to sell? Taking the money for your debts? That's theft, emotional theft, and I stopped it by becoming your co-owner. He put his head in his hands. What now? Now you make your mortgage payments, you cut your spending, you fix your marriage and your finances, and you leave me and my house alone. Do that. We're fine. We can move forward. Try anything like this again, I take your house. We clear? He nodded, barely. We're clear. They left, both of them defeated, caught, and I sat in my house, my beautiful paid-off house that they'd tried to steal, and I felt good, powerful, safe, because now I had leverage, now I had protection. They couldn't touch me, couldn't pressure me, couldn't manipulate me, because I owned part of their house, and they knew it, and they'd never forget it. It's been 3 months. Daniel calls once a week, polite, distant, careful. Vanessa doesn't call at all. I see her at family events. She won't make eye contact. Good. They make their mortgage payments on time. I get copies of the statements now. As a co-owner, they've stopped the expensive vacations, stopped the designer purchases. They're drowning still, but they're trying. And they will never, ever try to take my house again, because I took theirs first. So if this story made you check your property records or made you grateful your kids respect boundaries, hit like and subscribe, because I've got more stories. Stories about children who tried to steal from their parents. Stories about fraud that backfired. Stories about 70-year-old women who went to banks and became co-owners of houses they were supposed to be kicked out of. Spoiler alert, we're not senile, we're not helpless. We have lawyers, we have rights, we have the ability to read public records and make phone calls and protect ourselves. Want to put me in assisted living so you can take my house? Fine, I'll co-sign your mortgage. I'll become your co-owner. I'll have rights to your property. And when you try to sell, when you try to refinance, when you try to make any decision about your house, you'll need my signature, my approval, my permission. And I'll remind you every single time that you tried to steal from your mother, that you used her grief, her husband's death, her trust to commit fraud, to manipulate, to con. Daniel learned that lesson the hard way, the you're now a co-owner of my house way, the I can't make any decisions without mom way, the every mortgage statement gets copied to her way. And Vanessa learned that not all elderly women are easy targets, that some of us have lawyers, some of us do research, some of us go to banks and fix fraudulent paperwork and become co-owners in the process. Some of us fight back with paperwork, with lawyers, with deeds that have our names added to them permanently. My house is safe, in a trust, protected, mine. Their house, also mine, partially, legally, permanently, until that mortgage is paid off, which at their current rate will be never. I'm a co-owner. I have rights, I have power, I have leverage, and they will never, ever forget it. Every time they open that mortgage statement and see my name, they'll remember. Remember what they tried to do. remember that it backfired. Remember that their mother isn't a helpless old woman. She's a 70-year-old force who protects what's hers and takes what's theirs for safety, their safety from themselves, because clearly they can't be trusted with houses or mothers or basic human decency.